I'll do it. Thank you.
So we can start, sir.
All right.
One ನಿಮಿಷ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾ?
Yes, Didi. We are just connecting it to YouTube also.
Yeah.
Okay. Now everything is on. Yes.
That much you have trained me now.
Avit, are we online?
Yes, sir. 1-2 minutes. I will be just connecting to YouTube.
Sure. Yeah. Has gathered to the second session of Doctors with a Difference. This is an online initiative that we have started from last week. Every week we meet a doctor who is making a difference in the way they are doing things in their life. Basically, coronavirus has taught us a lot of things, and one of them is that doctors are very, very important for all of us. And among them, what we have learned is there are few who take a different path for their own lives and become path breakers. So last week we met Dr. Avinash Savji, and this time I'm very happy to invite Dr. Raghuram Nagaratna, who is a very young, passionate, and a loving, caring mother who is a MBBS from Bangalore Medical College. She did her MD in internal medicine from Mysore Medical College. She was one of the youngest fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh. Having had that kind of training, medical training, she decided to come back to India and serve, dedicate her life for social field as well as the Indian tradition of yoga. And as we all understand, she, along with her brother, Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who is the chancellor of Swami Vivekananda Yoga University, which is the first yoga university in the world, Dr. Nagaratna had been a co-founder. She is the medical director of Arogya Dhama, the health home of S. Vyasa, and she is the guiding spirit of all the clinical activities that happen at our headquarters in Bangalore. I am personally very happy to invite Dr. Nagaratna, who is my mentor and my mother, who has been teaching me to be in clinical field. Namaste, Dr. Nagaratna Didi.
Namaste.
Nagaratna Didi, as we fondly call her Didi, and it's been Raksha Bandhan yesterday, so it's so nice that Didi is here with all of us.
Yeah, wish you all Raksha.
Thank you, Didi.
Try Karlo.
So, Didi, we wanted to know about things that people don't know about you, which is probably I want you to roll back the clock and take us through the childhood and tell us a few fond memories and how exactly did you choose to get in medicine, MBBS in those days?
In our time, MBBS was not a rare choice for girls. In fact, most of our classmates, even at +2 level, would have liked to enter into MBBS. It was probably it was much earlier, my 2 generations before, like Lakshmi Amma's generation. Then it was very difficult for girls to think of entering medical school. In fact, to get back into that memory, my father had just retired and he approached the Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University and told, my daughter wants to do MBBS. There is no government college which has got physics, chemistry, biology as the option, and why should our children go to private colleges, just because they want to enter medicine, they have to take PCB. In fact, in my days, it was 1 year PUC, pre-university course. So my father started right from there to push us into, and the vice chancellor was so open-minded that, okay, Maharani's college will open PCB. So that was our first batch of PCB, which started, and we had to select PCB only for entering into medicine. It was not PCMB like now. It was a 1 year plus 2, plus 1 PUC. Like what's going to happen now in the modern education policy. It's
Yes.
going to be 1 year, 11 years of education before you enter the graduation, and 4 years graduation, as we are seeing now. So that is how we started. And it was all highly motivated, driven by my paternal aunt, Lakshmi Amma. We call her, or Lakshmi Auntie, we used to call her. She is no more, of course. She was the founder of our Prashanti Kutiram. She brought us up. In fact, I always say that we had 3 mothers. One is my grandmother, who used to have dabba full of chakli, kodbale, churmuri, etc. all the time, permanently fixed. And she brought us up without coffee or tea. We never tasted coffee, tea in our childhood. And the first breakfast I used to have was rava kheer. That was the breakfast that we all used to go to school with. So that's how we were brought up, and they were great devotee of Sri Ram. And today we are happy that tomorrow is going to be Sri Ram Foundation laying ceremony, with whole world is excited about. So Sri Ram was the devote Lord. So my grandmother was one mother, my mother, my biological mother, and Lakshmi Auntie, our academic, art, culture, skill development, everything, she was mothering us. So it was she who decided that we all should become doctors. We are 3 sisters, all 3 medical doctors, 2 brothers, both of them engineering doctorate. Dr. Nagendra, my elder brother, and Dr. Venkatrama, my younger brother, both of them engineering doctorates. So that was the dream of Lakshmi Amma, who wanted to become a doctor herself, and because of her ill health, she had to discontinue her medical school halfway through, and her dream was all the children of the family should become medical doctors. So that's how our journey started. Then got into medical school. Those days, it was not this degree of competition. I had got only 70%, which was the highest mark, which was a sure entry to medical school. If you got anything above 65% in PCB, that was a sure entry. It was tough. It was not like today. It was not multiple choice questions. So, so that's how it was. Now 72% the entry into government medical colleges. Okay, assured, she was very happy. She was happy.
So, Didi, how tough or simple was it to learn medicine, and what was the learning that you have had during those college days? Or tell us something nice about the experience. We can't imagine being in that time. So, just take us
You
back to
don't
that
think
time.
I'm 100 years behind or 200 years behind.
No, Didi,
There
but
are
at least about
50 years before.
50 years.
Yeah, in fact, it was all. In fact, the time was a time when majority of the medical ladies, lady medical doctors are settled in UK, USA. In fact, if you look at the Indian doctors who have made a big name, big research, big establishment in UK, USA, Dubai, Saudi, etc., they're all during that time. My age group people who went, it was like what is IIT today. You enter medical college and out into America or UK. Go to UK, do your MRCP or FRCP and go off to America, settle down there. So majority of the doctors who have come up to very great high levels of not only financially, but occupying research grades and professors, entering into politics in America are all doctors of my age. In fact, not many of my age were remaining in India. Our medical school was very interesting, lot of learning opportunities, lots and lots of, and our college was just walking distance from our house. So I used to walk to the college. All my friends would come home. We would sit and discuss, learn. Auntie was also getting interested, was sitting with us to do our combined studies. So she had more, all my friends were her greater friends than myself. So life was very interesting.
So Didi, how was your journey from Bangalore Medical College to Mysore Medical College to Edinburgh? Uh, I mean, how
After I
easy or
kept,
difficult it
no,
was to get in FRCP and something like that?
it was very, very smooth. After I completed my medicine, there was a government job that was announced. I joined the government job and I was posted in Vanivilas pediatrics department, and I used to enjoy that working in pediatrics. In fact, I can never forget my night duties in pediatrics when cholera epidemics were going on. One child would come, intravenous, push, immediately order for an ambulance, push the patient to the epidemic isolation ward. Another child would start the drip, put him in the ambulance, send him away. So it was a lot of learning experience. And I worked there for nearly 2 years in the pediatrics department. And used to apply for entry. Actually, I had applied for MD in pediatrics. I used to apply whatever came along, but I didn't get entry into pediatrics. But there were even medicine. There, I did not get selected. But it so happened after 1 month, when all the results were announced, I said, okay, I'll continue to work here. What is so big a problem? I'm enjoying it. I'll try next year. Then one person dropped out of MD in Mysore and general medicine, and they asked me whether I would like to join. The college people asked me, that was the DHS like those days, whether I would like to join. I said, okay, what's the problem? I went to Mysore. So that's how I shifted from pediatrics to general medicine. Mysore stay was fantastic, and it was a lot of learning experience. I had fantastic professors. I can never forget Dr. Das, Dr. Jadhav, Dr. Ramurthy. So what happened, there were a lot of medical, our professors or assistant professors who were really just passed out of their MDs. They were so enthusiastic to teach, so enthusiastic to teach. In fact, they used to call us at midnight. Oh, come on, midnight is a good time to see the fundus of the eye. We would run. And in fact, I had a house very near, just next door to the hospital. So midnight, they would show us all the fundi. It was such a fascinating experience to learn under great teachers whom we can never forget.
So it is
And
the
same
learning.
thing happened about going to UK also.
Yes, Didi.
And then I finished my MD, and I was the only one who passed in our batch actually in that MD program. And then I got a job in Davangere. I went and joined Davangere. Auntie came there. Daddy was there. We used to conduct Gita classes, satsangs, and enjoy my duty in the medicine department. And just then I finished my MD, lot of enthusiasm to teach. So a lot of students teaching, it was enjoyable. And one of our friends who was also working there said, hey, I'm going to UK, I am applying, why don't you also apply? Said, okay, bring the form, let me fill it up and apply. That's it. And then I went there and it just happened.
Sounds so simple, but I'm
It was
very sure.
really a smooth sailing.
But these days it is so difficult to get in a
Yeah.
medical school, and so much
Yeah.
of competition and everything. How was UK for a person who was from a traditional Indian family? How was your transition to be learning in that environment, Didi?
Again, UK also was not an issue because we had good number of Indian friends there. I had my life, I had my kitchen. I would invite all the boys to come and eat Bisipelapat, Mysore Pak, and then teach them oxygen dissociation curve or whatever, and enjoy my weekends, travel around over weekends, spend all my time with the patients in the wards. What was the problem? No problem. I worked in geriatrics, infectious diseases department. That was the time when I used to get lot of time for my sadhana. By that time, in fact, in my medical college, all my weekends, all my holidays were only to sit with our Shastri ji. Weekend आ गया तो तुरंत दौड़ना शास्त्री जी के पास. Shastri ji was our yoga guru, Vedanta guru. I used to meet teachers after teachers, gurus after gurus, got to spend a lot of time in Ramakrishna Math. So that was our hobby. So whatever little extra time you get, run to Ramakrishna Math, go to Shastri ji, discuss with him, fight with him like anything in Vedanta topics. And even in UK, I had a lot of time for my own personal sadhana.
So your yoga sadhana started even before you got in medical school, Didi?
Not that way. We were in the house in a very, very bhakti atmosphere. My grandmother and auntie were great Rama Bhaktas. And it was not of that usual traditional, तुम पूजा करना ही है, ऐसा बैठना ही है, ऐसा नहीं था. They were great devotees. They would make us do it. I remember one episode where once I had stolen 4 annas for giving it to Saraswati Puja in the school. How they were training the children was very interesting. 4 anna was a lot of money those days. We were in a very poor family. And then auntie found it out, and a child did not know that they have found out. But the way they used to train us was, tomorrow Rama is coming home Saturday, puja, special puja time. I'll put chit in front of Bhagwan. Bhagwan will tell the answer. So that was enough for me to confess. So this was the way they were training us and bringing us up. So the whole atmosphere in the house was Rama Bhakti, Dasapada, send me to music class, Devanama classes, and embroidery classes, pluck lot of Malika flowers, make lot of mala for Bhagwan to distribute in the whole street. This was the atmosphere in the whole there. And later, when we enter medical school, that was when we first got introduced to Vedanta, again through Auntie Ji and Nagendra Ji. Nagendra Ji also got introduced to Vedanta for the first time, although we were going in the traditional atmosphere of going to Harikathas and things like that. But real Vedanta got introduced when we first met Purnananda Swamiji. Guruji was introduced and we all got introduced. So that was in medical school. Maybe I was in 2nd year or 3rd year. From then the whole journey started.
So how did you decide to come back to India after your FRCP was done? And then why did you join Vivekananda Kendra? I mean, I see this Lakshmi auntie as one of the influencers, Professor Satyanarayan Shastri as another influencer, and Eknathji Ranade as the third influencer, which
Exactly.
basically decided the path that you took.
Exactly.
So, how did you choose to come back to Vivekananda Kendra, Kanyakumari, Didi?
It was again a smooth journey. I came back to India. In fact, my friends were making fun of me. No, now my results have come. It was around March or so. Now, August 15th, I should be back in India. Everybody was making fun of this. What has August 15th got to do with you are going back to India? Why don't you stay longer, do some more work, take up some more jobs and some more money and go? No, I'm going home. August 15th, I have to be back in India. I don't know what August 15th was inspiring me into. This must have been in my genes actually, because Sheshadriji was such a nationalist and Sangha person. So as soon as you think of the country, August 15th, Independence Day, it was just probably working inside. So when I came back, I didn't have anything specific to look forward to. I had my job, I could have gone back to the government job. Nagendraji said, come to Kanyakumari and stay and see what is going to happen. You worked hard in UK. Why don't you come and stay here for a few days? So I went there and I got drowned.
So how was the experience in Kanyakumari, Didi? What kind of patients were you seeing, and what was the kind of work?
Kanyakumari was not easy to develop a yoga therapy center, but I used to go in an ambulance to do our basic medical work in the surrounding villages. We take an ambulance, go around 2-3 villages, come back by afternoon. So that was the typical rural service activity. But Eknathji said you should really evolve yoga therapy as a very interesting thing that happened. One day Eknathji called me and said, hey, what would you like to do? With Nagendra, you should develop this yoga therapy as a big thing. Oh, what you would like to do, where you would like to do, how much you would like to do, you plan and come and tell me. What is there to plan, Eknathji? See, this row of building is there, no? There are 10 rooms here. This big hall is there, no? That building is there. You give me this area, I will start working there, I said. He blasted me and said, what nonsense are you talking? You have to think of a very big plan where you should think of a center which will be like Vellore Christian Medical College. That was the only major referral center for the whole country those days. So you should develop something like that for Indian knowledge and prove that yoga is a science. So that's how he used to inspire us. He was a very tough master.
So how did you get into yoga therapy, Didi? Because that is something that probably every one of us want to know.
Again, we knew that it can help because auntie had benefited, and with our experience, we knew that by that time already yoga was, mind-body medicine was very much in the field. I used to, in fact, in UK, I used to work mainly in rheumatology. Bed full of people with 10 joints replaced, 20 joints replaced, autoimmune disease, rheumatology. We knew all that. But what are we doing with psychoneuroimmunology? Lot of this knowledge about mind-body medicine was already known. Autoimmunity is directly related to mind, is very clearly known. But what do we do with the mind? So that was clear that we have to work on the mind. We have to change the mindset. We have to do this. And this knowledge base is very much there. The only question was, what am I going to teach for which participant, which disease, how do we teach? So Eknathji told that you go around the whole country, see what is happening. So with my very good therapist, we had a very nice therapist who knew even Khechri Mudra. He knew all the kriyas, he knew asanas, very good in pranayama. So that therapist and myself, we went around the whole country. East, north, west, south, spent almost for 6 months, spending 15-20 days in each center. I used to interview the patient and meet the Swami there, ask them what you taught, why you taught, how you taught, how you think it works. make notes, and then this person would learn some new technique from that Swami and then move on. So this way I spent 3-4 months or maybe a little longer also. And then when we came back, we started telling what this is. No, nothing was matching with anything. One person should do Shirshasana for epilepsy, another person should say you should never do. One person would say you should balance here, one person would say balance here, one person should say balance here. There was a big fight. One person would say only pranayama, one person would say no pranayama, but they are all improving. I have interviewed the participant, I have seen the patient, I have talked to them, I know that they have improved. But this Swami says, no, this one is good, that Swami says, this one is good. If you were going to just compile all of them and get some factor analysis or something to get something out of it, nothing would have come out. But Guruji got just one simple idea, only one sentence. He said, hey, all of them are doing yoga. What is yoga? Yam. Mastery over the modification of the mind. Whether you go through this path, that path, doesn't matter. They're all taking the person to take their mind inwards, change their mindset, and bring about cleansing, detoxification, balancing, silencing. This is what is working. So that gave us the lead, and then therefore this concept of integrated approach of yoga therapy started developing, and there were no patients coming to Kanyakumari. So I used to go to Trivandrum city where it was large number of IBS participants. So very highly intelligent, very sharp, very focused people. So a lot of men with IBS, and we started getting some more experiences on that. And we shifted to Bangalore. In Bangalore, there was a big enthu, where we announced the first asthma camp in December month in Bangalore, cold weather, and we were prepared. We had a good number of volunteers who were well trained. And then the first camp, we expected about 10-15 people. There were 150 registrations. So we had to do a lot of, so that way, camps after camps. Every patient is an open book. We started learning, and it evolved.
I think the message is loud and clear that every patient is a teacher to you and you have to learn from them.
Very much.
You mentioned about asthma, and that brings us to something very, very path-breaking that you and Guruji have done together. The first ever randomized controlled trial in yoga therapy that came up in British Medical Journal, Yoga for Asthma, which came in 1985, Didi. Could you just tell us about the research? Why did you wanted to bring research into yoga therapy?
This was very clear that we have to do research, only then things will get established to make yoga a science. In fact, even right from Eknathji's time, he had very clearly told, you both have come, particularly for Guruji, he had told that you are well trained in science. So to bring the best of the Western knowledge and prove the Eastern knowledge by using the Western technology, etc. So right from day one, it was very clear. In fact, even in Kanyakumari, when we started, it was called Yoga Therapy Research Foundation. So it was very clear that we had to document, and Guruji, as you know, is a very clear scientist who wants to see that it is getting published, documented the right way and all that. So that was not a big question whether we should be doing research or not. So we just started, even very first camp, we started having the sheet in which we followed up. We documented the PFR, we documented the pulse rate, we documented the medication scores, all that even very first camp onwards. So like that we could follow up for even 5 years. Even today there is no 5-year follow-up publication in any of the diseases.
So, Didi, how did you get to British Medical Journal? Where
That was interesting. We wrote up this paper on 53 yoga 53 control and sent it to Indian Medical Association journal. First time I didn't know where to send. An Indian Medical Association, which was in Bangalore, with their headquarters, they rejected the paper. I was keeping it. Okay, I didn't even know that we should send it to some other journal, and we were going to send it to journal. I met one of my professors, Dr. Shadaksharappa. Said, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀಯಾ, ಏನೇನೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯಲ್ಲ, ಏನೋ ಯೋಗ ಅದು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯಾ ಅಂತಂದ್ರು. Then I said, yes sir, we are doing these camps, we want to publish a paper. ಏನ್ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ಯಾ ತೋರ್ಸು ಅಂತಂದ್ರು. So I went and showed him his hard copy. Said, and I also told him, sir, it has been rejected by IMA. Why do you want to send it to IMA? Send it to BMJ.
Okay.
So because he said send it to BMJ, I sent it to BMJ. But to our surprise, it took 2 years of back and forth. We wrote almost 200 pages of reply to the questions that they were coming. The first time, in fact, they had rejected. This professor, I told him, sir, you asked me to take to BMJ. Look, they have rejected. Said, okay, I'll write a letter to them. He was an MRCP also himself. So he wrote a letter saying that, tell me one reason why you want to reject. Because this is a long-term follow-up. If you have any question, send it to review first. Then you can think of rejecting it. So he pushed it for the review. And the reviewer started asking. First time it was 50 questions by each reviewer. Then it came down to 10 questions, 5 questions, 2 questions. And finally it came to a question where they were learning from us about yoga. That was the openness of the reviewers. Yeah. Wonderful. What is this yoga? Why do you do? How do you do? How does it work? They started asking such questions.
That is lovely. But Didi, there were no emails, there was no electronic communication at that time. So all this was happening over...
All postal.
Oh my God. Okay.
And imagine every calculation was done by hand, entries by hand, statistics by hand.
No computers.
Everything. No computers.
Oh my God. Sounds so...
Now we are talking on computers. We are not even meeting each other.
That was really inspiring, and what we need to learn from this is probably, you need to be persistent in case you want to succeed. Any special experiences with patients, Didi?
Oh, that is unlimited. Every patient is...
Yeah, you must have seen lakhs of patients. So
every patient is a new something to learn. Starting from the physical things to breathing to their mind. Asthma cases were fascinating experiences. Back pain cases are fascinating, hundreds of cases. Every day is a miracle in our campus. Every patient, whenever I admit a new difficult case, a chronic case, my friends, my junior friends say, Didi, how we can take this case?
Including myself.
I don't think you should admit this case. I ask myself only one question. If we don't try, already the case is out. They have reached their climax. They have done Ayurveda, they have done allopathy, they are on heavy doses of steroids and surgeries done. Why not try? We are not going to do any harm. Whatever plus happens, let it happen. And one good thing about this knowledge base is we can design techniques which are not going to worsen the situation. This is what repeatedly I keep telling my junior friends, that you can't say that, okay, I gave this asana, It's an initial aggravation followed by improvement. No. Even in the initial, you should design such techniques that it will never have initial aggravation also. So that is the safety of the beautiful techniques that the sages have given us. So that way there was no fear of accepting any case. So and we admit cases, they come in ambulances, go back climbing hill is a normal phenomenon in Prashanti Kutiram, which I'm sure Apar you will be able to share your own experiences too.
Absolutely, Didi. But then I find something very interesting about what you have designed with Arogya Dhama. You don't call it a hospital, you call it health home. You don't call a patient, you call them therapy participants. Why is this important when healthcare?
I'll tell you one experience. I was going to Italy. I was with and one psychotherapist was going to receive me, take from the airport and gave me tea in her house and then put me into the next activity. And she was so etiquette person, highly, very posh and all that. And she took me and very etiquette, very delicate. And she thought some big doctor is coming. So she was also very nervous. And she takes me there and her table is laid up with a lot of items which I cannot pick up and eat because of the etiquette. I have to sit there very stiff also to start with. And I had learned one thing. Purva Bhashi. Rama is called Purva Bhashi.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in a problem of stiffness or etiquette, you talk first. So, ice breaking bolte hai na. So to do ice breaking, I started talking, although everybody was quiet. Then I started telling, oh, I come from Prashanti Kutiram, Arogya Dhama, where when the patients come into our campus, we call them participants, we take away the word patient. This lady jumped up from her chair and said, wow, it is fantastic. Patients should participate in their therapy. It's so very important that they should be participants, they should involve in their treatment. She got so much involved anyway. To cut the long story short, she came to Prashanti and she said, this is the only place where I see patients are called Bhaiya, Didi, uncle, auntie, and then you call them participants and not patients. In fact, this is a culture of our campus where patients are no longer patients. They get amalgamated as our, and very interestingly, all our doctors and therapists are so much tuned in this culture of just treating them as Bhaiya, Didi, uncle, auntie.
Didi, one thing that I always wanted to ask you, I remember on Fridays, we used to travel from the campus to Eknath Bhavan, our city center, for consulting patients, and I used to travel with you. But before you even start from campus, which is about 35 kilometers of journey, you would have answered your emails, you would have done your yoga practice in the morning, you would have finished your morning walk, and then we start from here at 7, reach there, meet the patients, you come back with us to campus again by lunchtime, and by 2 o'clock you start seeing every single patient that comes in. You do that till 5 o'clock, then take a lecture for the patients and continue to see the patients after the lecture. How do you get that energy? I mean, many a times I used to wonder. At 5, I used to be very tired, but you always have that energy. How do you have that, Didi?
This is the secret of Bhagavad Gita. There is only one message that Gita gives us. Live in the present. This is all you have to do. It's a message for all of you. Just live in the present. If you are living in the present, now you are in front of a participant, you forget what all has happened from morning till night. It's the carry-over effect that I have done this much work, I have done this work, which is going on at the background, that creates all the problem. So just live in the present is the only message that we should learn from Bhagavad Gita.
That is so amazing message. I think everybody, it doesn't matter whether you are in medical profession or not. I think everybody has to live in present, and that should solve most of the
All the
problems.
stress, the corporate stress, the whole, I'll give you an example. My one relative, she is a bank employee. She would say, she was in a high level of as an officer. So what she would say is, from morning we go to office at 9 o'clock. We finish the work at 5 o'clock. We are as fresh as ever. And from 5 o'clock to 6:30, the work gets extended. And all the others in the juniors have left. And we as senior officers have to stay on until all the files are completed. And that 1 hour will exhaust us. Oh, अभी ये होना चाहिए था, वो नहीं होना चाहिए था. From morning till work, we start just brooding over what has not happened, what was happening, what is going to happen. So this 1 hour will totally exhaust us. So it is just dwelling in the past or dwelling in the future. Thoughts, even one single thought is so very powerful. So just delete those thoughts, just live in the present. You just can go on and on and on and on and on.
How do you do that? I mean,
That
yes,
is-
it is
that's
theoretically, it sounds very simple, but what are the practices that you would suggest everyone to follow?
very, very important, particularly as BNYs, doctors, we tend to forget our practice time. Practice time is very, 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 very important. The more senior you are, longer should be the duration of practice, personal practice, but we tend to do the other way. Oh, I was a student, I used to practice 4 hours a day. Now I have become a postgraduate, I practice half an hour a day. Now I am an established practitioner, I have no time for myself. This is not at all the sadhana. This is not the way one should go. There is more senior you are, longer should be the time you spend with yourself. Just stay with yourself. While doing asanas, there is so much your body can teach you. How did our masters of Ayurveda know the anatomy? How did our masters of Ayurveda learn their Vata, Pitta, Kapha or fluid or his body? How body is made of water, all these theories, how did they do? Not by looking outside. They looked inside. The body was revealing itself. Body reveals itself. Prana reveals itself. Mind reveals itself. Atma Gnana reveals itself. For that you have to give time. So giving time for yourself is the only way at all levels, physical level, breathing level, mind level, emotions level, intellectual level, at all levels you have to work on that.
So living in present and making sure that you spend time with yourself is going to be the key, is I think the message that Didi is conveying to all of us if we want to be, if we want to go ahead.
Exactly.
Didi, there is a question coming in from one of the participants, which is, what is the importance of the doctor's touch to the patient? If you can share some experiences throwing light on the doctor-patient relationship and how it should be. We are taught that, you know, you should not be too much involved with the patients, but if we want to treat our own bhaiyas, didis, uncles and aunties, then probably we have to put our hearts in healing them. So how do you differentiate those?
Yogasthaha kuru karmani. You get completely attached, the attachment may not be the word. You do everything that you would like to do, but there is a layer inside you in which you are totally zero. ಎರಡು ಕೋಣೆಗಳ ನೀ ಮಾಡು ಮನದಾಲಯದಿ, ಹೊರ ಕೋಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಲೋಗರಾಟಗಳ ನಾಡು, ವಿರಮಿಸು ಒಬ್ಬನೇ ಮೌನದೋಳ್ ಒಳಮನೆಯ ಶಾಂತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ. This is what Krishna is repeatedly telling when you have to learn how to be stress-free. So you have to be doing everything empathetically, but not get totally focused in your emotions. Zero emotions, but only softness flows. You don't have to cry with your patient. You don't have, see, normally as a beginner, as a particularly students, when you're just becoming, completing your interns and entering as a medical doctor with all the enthu, we tend to get totally involved in the patient's problems. And many a times, I'm sure, Apar, you have seen, a patient would have seen, told that, I hate my husband, he's a horrible fellow, useless fellow, terrible fellow. And you become so angry with that husband. When you happen to meet the husband, you are already tuned because you have already identified with your participant, the wife. And then when you meet the husband, you will notice that the story is totally the opposite. Totally the opposite. It's the wife who is the problem. But I'm already colored. I have already got a goggles. I've already in my eye this one. So how not to get form opinion by just listening to a participant. You keep saying, yes, I understand your problem. I know what is your problem. I empathize with you, but don't form an opinion inside.
So the other thing probably is this is what we have seen happening in Arogya Dhamma. As young doctors, when we approach our participants, they generally do not open up, they don't share a lot of things. And the moment you walk in the cabin, and probably you're, I don't know, just a gentle smile or looking at your face, people start opening up and sharing their experiences.
No, not really apart. It's actually many a times the other way. I have many a time got lot more information about the participant through my therapist who walk
Okay.
with the participant, who talk with the participant, who eat with the participant, who give them food. And they open up much better. It is all how you, how they identify with you, how confident they feel with you is what matters. In fact, I have done this many a times. I have requested my therapist, just go for a walk with this participant. This participant is not opening up. I think I'm sure they will open up with you, come back and tell me. This happens. So it's just how you handle the participant, how caring you are, how they feel that you can be of support for them. They need that support now.
So it should not be just limited to your consultations. It has to go beyond the
Exactly.
consultation room, and you should be one with
Very much, very much.
giving care to the participants. Didi, if you have to give a message to the young budding uh, healthcare providers and yoga enthusiasts and yoga therapists, what it would be? What things should they learn? What skills should they acquire? And how should they approach to the whole learning process?
My dear friends, it's a very, very difficult world we are in today. We are, all that we are talking about is, seems to be in a cocoon, but the world outside is full of materialism, selfishness, conflicts, challenges, competition. So in this world of Asuri Sampath, to maintain your Daivi Sampath is a very, 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 very great challenge for all of us, and much more so for the young budding doctors. You have to grow, you have to survive, you have to live, you have to earn your living, you have to bring up your children in a good way, and you have to be presentable to the world outside when such big financial challenges are there. To maintain this calmness inside, maintain that apartness, and still do things in the right way is a bigger challenge for your present generation, I think. So to maintain that, the only solution is hang on to the divine inside. Hang on to your sadhana. Hang on to your practices inside. Don't run away from facing the devil. face the devil, but be Daiva inside. Asuri Sampath outside, do the drama of the world outside like Krishna used to do, but inside you are always divine.
The other
ये
question
बोलना
that
इतना आसान है ना?
exactly, Didi. It's so simple to say, but then I think it will take a lot of practice for us to
Very, very
reach
important.
that state of mind that
Study
you're
and
talking.
sadhana.
The other question that has come up is you spoke of living in present, and will you relate that to Sakshi Bhava, and how do you connect these two?
Exactly. Exactly. That is called as Sakshi Bhava, Kevali Bhava, Atma Bhava,
Or probably
Upasthiti.
mindfulness is what
Mindfulness.
is being spoken these days.
Okay, mindfulness is not asking you to maintain that inner silence that way.
Okay.
Mindfulness brings you to that present living. In presentness, that guna atita sthiti is not too much touched upon. So mindfulness is very, very useful to bring you from into the present. But present में धारणा हो रहा है, present में ध्यान भी हो सकता है, present में beyond ध्यान होने के लिए you want a deeper TM like process where they straight away ask you to go into that silence.
So maintaining inner silence is going to be the key, and
Exactly.
remaining in that state will require a lot of practice. Didi, what are the skills that these young medicos should develop if they want to face the challenges that we have today? On one side, we have problems like COVID. The other side, we are dealing with lifestyle disorders. So,
And
what
your
is
own
it that?
family.
Sorry?
And your own family.
Absolutely.
And you have to grow and then live up to the expectations of the society around you. You get married, your wife's demands, your parents' demands, your children's demands, dealing with teenage children, too many challenges, no? Mm.
So what is it? What are the skills that probably these people
See,
should be developing?
academically, the skill is very important that you have to keep on continuously doing short courses, many courses, which keeps you updated about new developments in the field. Generally, what happens for a doctor is after we come out of the post-graduation and get settled down as a consultant, it's the drug company representatives who are your teachers, which is the wrong thing to do. So keeping updated with academics, participating in CMEs, participating in programs, keeping updated, allot some time, at least half an hour every day to keep abreast with our knowledge which is getting updated, and get involved in research activities. And number 3 is your own skills by regular sadhana is very, 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 very important. Keep early morning, go to bed at 10 o'clock, wake up at 4:30 in the morning. If you don't do it, nothing is possible. 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock is my time. Only after 7 the world begins for me. If that is not followed, you are not a BNYS.
I think that is a very, very important message to stay with yourself and spend time with yourself, learning and growing in your sadhana. Another question, Didi, is how do you see the future of yoga and naturopathy as a system of medicine? And in the larger picture of how healthcare is evolving, what will be the role that we will be playing?
In fact, our dream is integration.
Yes.
It is not a dream, it should become a phenomenon even in my time and definitely in your time. What is going to happen, what should happen is, the first entry person, as soon as a patient enters, the first person to see should be a BNYS or integrative medicine person. Now integrative medicine is the thing that's going to happen maybe 5 years, 10 years from now. Everybody will know yoga, everybody will know Ayurveda, everybody will know TCM, everybody will know allopathy. And so the first thing that you start doing when a participant sees you is you start talking about his mind. You start talking about his wellness first, then go to the disease, then look at the imbalances, then look at the physical illnesses. So the whole thing will reverse. First thing today, what is happening, we start with allopathy, we start with Annamaya Kosha, start doing all the scans, blood tests, urine tests, etc. And then go to the next level, which may be mind, maybe 0.05%, look into the mind component. Now the whole thing should reverse. So you start with the mind and go down to the physical. 80% of the investigations become unnecessary. Yesterday I saw one mail where one patient goes to the doctor and says, "Sir, you prescribed me this medicine and I read over this medicine strip that without doing this blood test, you cannot take this medicine." Then doctor said, "You want to get cured or you want to be in the laboratory one day?" So, so it's the mind that is so very important.
So I think that is what is a very big confidence booster coming from you, that yoga and naturopathy physicians probably should become the primary pillars of healthcare, looking at the mind and looking at wellness prior to treating people.
Exactly.
So I think we have done with the questions that we wanted to ask. If there are any questions from the participants, we will wait for another minute or so. But during that time, Didi, I just wanted to thank you for being such a inspiration. Whenever I see you, I have always dreamt to be a doctor because I saw my father being a doctor and taking care of people. But ever since I came in profession, probably my idol was always you. I always idolized you as the doctor that I want to be in my life. The compassion that you shower on your patients and heal them just by talking to them. No medicines are really required. It's just your touch that heals people. And I think we all have a lot to learn from you and Guruji and everybody who has done so much for the field of integrative medicine, yoga therapy, and all other things. There is one question that has come up, Didi. Gita advises us to do karma without expecting results. How to make it possible? Because before performing any karma, first thought comes to mind is how this work is going to be benefiting me.
Yeah, that person who is advising is Krishna. What was the phala he wanted? Dharma establishment. He knew that phala is very much necessary. So phala, you can't get rid of the phala. Phala should become present every minute when you're planning, when you're executing. Am I in the right direction? Am I moving in the right direction? Am I going to reach this result or not? You should be continuously aware, but that phala should not be disturbing you when the negative things happen. You are prepared very well for your exam. When you are preparing, will I get this question in my exam? If you are not conscious about it, you will not prepare. So will I get this question? Will I get 90% marks? Will I get 95%? Is the motivating factor which will help you to prepare, because that is now the present. But you have completed the exam, results have come, and instead of 90%, you got 9%. My God, I am gone. That collapse, that uncomfortable feeling, which you never expected. There is some other factor that is deciding. So that is when you don't collapse, is the first level interpretation of Mahaphaleshu Kadachana. But there is much higher level of Mahaphaleshu Kadachana, where if instead of 90% you got a 9% mark, Can you take it? Okay. This was the phala that was destined for me. Let me take it as a bigger challenge. I remember one of my classmates, he took 10 years to pass medicine. He would fail every class 4 times. he would say, Andre, don't worry. I know I got less buddhi, but because I fail, I read better next time. I know I'm going to fail, though I prepare for the next time. I'll tell you, you people pass in 1 time. I read 4 times and read, therefore, I have deeper knowledge of the knowledge subject. So you don't worry.
What
So
an
these,
outlook.
and he really became a wonderful anesthetic teacher. Everybody just hangs around him to learn anesthesia in Saudi.
Oh, that's a wonderful insight because a lot of times during the medical courses, people fail in some exams and they become so depressed and there is a lot of problem. This is a beautiful way of looking at it. If we are failing, it is just that we are getting another chance to relook at the subjects and learn it better. So beautifully put, Didi. I think there are no more questions. So, what will be the parting thoughts for the younger generation, Didi? Because
No, it's a big tree, big tree. It's not 10 people or 5 people trying to fight for integration. You're all going to be involved in this integration and you are going to be the torch bearers of this knowledge base when integration happens. So hold this torch, spread this torch, let this grow into a big banyan tree, which is going to spread this message to the whole world.
well, thank you, Didi, for that beautiful journey, right from the childhood to how you got in medicine and giving us insights throughout, and then the journey to yoga therapy, the struggle that was there initially in terms of the BMJ publication, how you need to be persistent and continue to strive for excellence, and the results will come. I think you did not visualize the paper to be in BMJ, but it is there. And that is how I think all of us have to take it. And what we learned today was that you need to be persistent, you need to be in present, and you need to give time to yourself, is what Didi has told all of us. And as she has told, we are going to be the torchbearers for tomorrow's system of medicine. So I thank Dr. Nagaratna Didi sparing her time with all of us to motivate and share her life journey. And it's so nice to be inspired by somebody who is herself a pathbreaker, who has created a beautiful system by herself on integrative approach of yoga therapy for all of us to learn and move ahead. If you like this interaction, I would be very happy if you can share it with people whom you think it will be useful and motivate yourself. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next week with another guest, another doctor who has walked on a different path. Thank you so much, Didi. Namaste.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Shall we
Yeah,
end
you
the
can.
meeting?
Yeah, you can cut the YouTube stream.
Yeah, sir. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll end this meeting.